That's left too. Hello, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be comparing these two beautiful lenses. This is the EF 70-200 2.8 IS USM, so just version 1. This is the exact same lens, version 2. So we're going to be going over these two lenses mostly because I've been doing a lot of research on finding these lenses, and if you're like me, you can't afford the new RF lenses or the highest end EF lenses even. So I've been doing a lot of research on these, cheaper, older, still really high quality lenses, and I haven't found anybody doing a lens comparison on the version 1 and version 2, just these two lenses on YouTube or anything. So I wanted to do a quick comparison comparing the sharpness and maybe some chromatic aberration. I'm sure the colors are going to be really similar, stuff like that. So yeah, we'll just get right into it, and I'm going to be shooting some of these, get a little bit of the texture and depth, and hopefully some light to see the differences in those. So yeah, let's get into it. My plan for this shoot is to take a few photos at 200 millimeters and then maybe at around 100 millimeters on both lenses, and to do shots that are far away, so getting a lot of background and bokeh in there, and then doing shots closer where we get more of the subject in frame. And I'm going to kind of give some advice on getting sharper photos, because I think getting a nice distance from the subject compared to your f-stop and all that, you can get very sharp photos compared to, just if you're farther away and stuff like that. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to compare the photos. And as far as my setup over there, the way I set it up, and the reason I chose those, is because the bottles give you a lot of light coming through, so hopefully get some chromatic aberration that we can see. And then the vase has some texture with the leaves, and we can see some depth with that. And then the camera is just kind of cool. You can see the texture on the camera and see how narrow the depth of field is between the lens and the camera itself. So we're just going to take a look at those, and yeah, we'll just get right into it and then go back to the studio and check out the photos. Well, that was a fun adventure. Just got there right at the right time for all the kids to be getting out of school. There was like a school bus that arrived, kids everywhere, like cars parked everywhere, parents picking their kids up. And then people started walking their dogs coming right up, and dogs are barking, and it's like, wow, okay, so I chose like the exact wrong time of day to do this, but yeah, let's go and take a look at these photos. I did test a little bit of the autofocus. I will say the autofocus on the second version, I wouldn't say like noticeably different, but it is better. The first version will kind of hunt a little bit. Sometimes it'll kind of, if you're like switching really quickly between objects, it'll kind of do a little zzz, zzz, but it'll get there quickly. It'll still get there quickly. You know, there's not a huge time delay. But the second version will just, it's like, it just goes there. It's very quick. It's cool. So anyways, let's jump right into the photos and take a look at the difference. So I've looked at all of them. They all look really good, but there is a really, in my opinion, a big difference between the first and second version, and I really love the second version, just in my opinion. So let's take a look. The first version, 70-200 IS USM. We are at ISO 200 millimeters f 2.8, 1/100th of a second. We're also on a tripod, so 1/100th of a second to usually be pretty slow, but it's on a tripod, so no problem. I also have the settings on both of the lenses set at 2.5 meters to infinity, stabilization on, mode 1, autofocus, so both lenses were set to that. I cleaned both lenses beforehand, so this is all very, very controlled. All my white balancers are exactly the same. You know, all the settings were exactly the same for all these shots, so yeah, you'll notice like this is kind of soft when you zoom into these leaves here. The focus, I think, is actually slightly behind. You can see there. You can see like this is a really nice. It's very legible writing. You can see these are, it's all there, but there's no real texture. Like when you get in here, it's all kind of just bleh. When you're back here, it doesn't look bad. It's sharp. I mean, it looks good. Take a look at the second lens. I actually unfortunately missed focus on this, so the camera is just not in focus at all. But come up here to these that are in focus, and oh my gosh, like you can see that right there is a huge difference compared to kind of soft with these leaves and stuff. But when you come back to this next image, it's like, whoa. Let's go to the next photo where we come in a little bit. This is the version 1. So you'll still see, I mean, it's sharp. It looks great, you know? It looks really good. There's no problem with this photo at all. And with the leaves, they still look really good. Yeah, I mean, they're in focus. They're pretty sharp. You know, absolutely no issues with that. So this is the second version of the lens, and you can, like, man, holy crap. That looks so good. Like, that's such a crazy improvement. Like, holy crap, look at that. Like, that compared to this, like, this is like, oh yeah, it looks great. But this is like, wow, you can see the details and the contrast and the everything just looks so good. And this is the overall view. So this is version 1 right here, and this is version 2. So you can see the background bokeh, even like the shadows are a little bit deeper, the colors are a little bit better. Like, it's just different. It's just different, and it looks really good. And you can tell with the sharpness and the clarity of these like petals that, yeah, there is a noticeable difference in sharpness and clarity and color and just the quality of the image. It looks really good. So this is what I would consider like a perfectly sharp in focus photo. If you want like perfect sharpness on a photo, this is where you should go. ISO 500, 100 millimeters, f4, 1/60th of a second. So ideally, you know, you would want a higher shutter speed, lower ISO, but it might be kind of dark to try to do that, like, you know, 1/400th of a second or above, maybe 1/500th of a second, something like that. ISO 500 is great. That's plenty low enough. And then f4 is just going to add you a little bit of extra detail into your photo that f2.8 may not be hitting. f2.8 is not bad, but you're gaining more with f4. You're gaining on the first version of the lens. Dang, like, there is detail in here that we were not getting before. Like, this looks really good now. Yeah, this looks fantastic. All these leaves are like very sharp, very in focus. They don't really look soft anymore. And you'll notice, like, wow, the detail in the camera now. This is the first version of the lens. And we're getting so much detail out of the front part of the camera, the letters, like the chromatic aberration is gone. You know, the blue that was there. And that looks really, really good. Especially for being the first version of the lens. We're not even on the second version. So, this is the second version. You can see the bokeh is a little bit different. Second version of the lens, like, wow, so much detail, like, so sharp, looks so good at f4. f4 just really, really pops, gives you so much detail. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and really benefited from it. I honestly learned a lot from doing this. And I answered a lot of my own questions that I wanted to know about the version 1 versus version 2 of the lens. The version 2 is like a huge step up, and I'm really glad I got it now. I'm actually selling my version 1 in a few days. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and, you know, now I hope you can decide which one you want. If you can afford the version 2, go ahead and get it. I mean, it's like a significant difference in my opinion. The contrast, the clarity, the sharpness. The chromatic aberration, I would say, is probably about the same. We only saw it in like one photo, but it looked kind of similar. But we noticed that when we went from f2.8 to f4, that's when the chromatic aberration got a little bit less. That could just have to do with the exposure being a little bit lower. But, you know, overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you feel fit to do so, and see you next time. Peace.